today we're going to talk about the things that I did in San Jose, the capital of Costa Rica. I visited Costa Rica in March 2024 and it was kind of a struggle to choose between all the countries in Central America, whether I should visit Costa Rica, Guatemala, Panama, but in the end we chose San Jose, Costa Rica. And why is that? I'm gonna dig really deep into why we chose Costa Rica in the end, and I'm gonna debunk some of the travel myths around Costa Rica because people seem to be not really aware that Costa Rica is the way it is. I want to be really frank with you and tell you that I only spent 10 days in Costa Rica because it was intended as a work break after the very intense road trip I did in Guatemala. It was a very intense 10-day itinerary in Guatemala. You can see all the videos from Guatemala on my channel. I highly recommend watching those because Guatemala is nothing you imagine. It's way more and way better, and I really enjoyed it, and I cannot recommend Guatemala enough for any adventurous traveler out there. Also, it's totally fine. You can do a road trip there, and don't get scared off by those internet trolls that tell you cannot go to Guatemala. Anyway, everybody's gonna tell you go to Costa Rica instead. And now to answer the most important question, and the question that everybody's looking for on the entire internet when thinking about traveling to Central America: is San Jose, Costa Rica safe? And the answer is yes, it is. It's very safe. And if you search on the internet, you're gonna find some locals mentioning certain neighborhoods that are known to be less safe. However, from my now extensive knowledge about traveling in Central America and in Latin America and South America as well, as a tourist, the chances of you ending in not so great neighborhoods for tourists are very, very slim. So if you stick to the touristic places, places recommended by your host, the hotel staff, basically the tour guides and people that you're gonna meet during your trip, you're not gonna end up in what they call unsafe places. However, even the unsafe places, well, some of them are quite unsafe, but most of them are kind of, unsafe compared to standards that you might be used to. So it really depends on what you consider to be safe. So if you're coming from the US, some parts of the US are, they are safe, and some parts you consider not to be so safe. The same goes for Europe or any other place in the world, and the same goes for Central America and Latin America. So yes, it's safe. Bottom line, general rule is to stick around the touristy areas and you will be fine. Even walking at night in San Jose was really safe. People are going to bars, restaurants. Yeah, it's safe. How is San Jose, Costa Rica, the capital of Costa Rica? This is where international flights land in Costa Rica, so many tourists only spend here a day or two. Some skip it altogether, as there are many interesting things to do in Costa Rica other than explore the capital. San Jose is a typical city in Central America with a few museums, a main shopping area, a Chinatown. Since San Jose has direct flights to the US, many expats live here, and there is a part of the city that caters specifically to foreigners. Where to stay in San Jose in Costa Rica? Most foreigners and expats choose to stay in the central area or around it. If you're there only for one night, then you might want to spend the night at a hotel near the airport and then continue your trip around Costa Rica. But if you want to spend more days in San Jose, then you should stay in Barrio Escalante, which is on the east side of the center but walking distance, and there you will find a lot of expats, foreigners, restaurants and supermarkets that cater to foreigners, and digital nomad communities and everything else. We stayed at the Urban Escalante building, and in that building, which seems to have been built specifically for digital nomads, they have everything you would need as a digital nomad, and it's very nicely decorated, so you could basically film there or take photos or whatever. It's very, very... The building in which we stayed is called Urban, and it basically has everything you need if you're a digital nomad. It has a co-working space, a gym, swimming pool. It had really good Wi-Fi in all public areas, and it has a really cool design. It's close to center. You can basically walk to center, and we stayed at the 24th floor, which has an awesome view over the city. Sunsets were magnificent over there. Really loved it. There were some downsides actually to this building as well. So, and this, I think it applies in a lot of Central America and Latin America in general, is the fact that buildings, especially windows, don't have a really proper sound isolation. So basically it gets really noisy during the day and at night. There was a train going on all the time, and it was making a lot of noise, so it was kind of hard to go to sleep at night, but after a while you kind of get used to it. So if you're a light sleeper, you're not gonna like it too much. You will need earplugs. However, after a few days of exploring San Jose, we realized that this was probably the best building to stay in as a digital nomad, so I cannot complain. Also, it was surrounded by supermarkets, both local supermarkets and also the fancy supermarkets for expats, which had everything imported from the US. It was not cheap, but if you need something from the US, then you're gonna feel just as you would at home. So that would be the benefit. And also, you're not gonna feel like it's expensive if you're used to US prices, but if you're expecting prices for Latin America, it's gonna be crazy expensive. After a few days in San Jose, we also realized that there were plenty of digital nomads around. A lot of them were from the US. That's why there are so many direct flights from Miami and around that. So if you want to meet people there, that's also very nice. One thing that you have to be aware about before visiting any country in Central America is that these tropical climates that make the perfect picture for Instagram are basically very hot and very humid. And of course, you get extra humidity in the rainy season, so you have to be prepared for that. It's not really easy to survive that, especially if you're not used to it. Then another thing that is not mentioned is that basically it gets really hot during the day. These tropical lands are so close to the equator. It's like the sun is right above you all day long and it's burning your skin. So you need sun protection, sunscreens, you need hats, you need mosquito repellent, you need all those things. So you need a lot of preparation before going to such places, and some people are just not used to that humid, hot environment. So this might not be for everybody. It looks great in a picture, but to get that picture, once you're at that spot, it's gonna take a bit of a physical preparation. I spent all my time in San Jose, and although it feels like it's not a huge city and you have plenty of time to explore it, basically our white skin is not gonna feel too happy if you're starting to explore San Jose during the middle of the day. The sun will simply start burning your skin regardless of how many layers of sunscreen you have on. A lot of people on the internet consider San Jose, the capital of Costa Rica, not really travel-worthy destination. So basically, you land in San Jose because that's where the airport is in Costa Rica, and from there you either spend the night somewhere around the airport. There are a bunch of hotels around the airport, or you rent a car or get a guide or a tour to pick you up from the airport and then start your tour around Costa Rica. That's what most tourists do. And that's because they say that San Jose is rather boring. Well, indeed, it is kind of boring considering that Costa Rica and all countries in Central America are mostly famous for their nature spots. But there are things to do in San Jose as well, because I only stayed in San Jose and I wasn't that bored. Just don't expect too much. There are a few places to hang out, some shopping areas, a nice theater with an European architecture, and a nice cafe inside, which I really recommend seeing. But that's mostly it. There are two museums that everybody recommends. The National Museum of Costa Rica, which basically encapsulates everything that Costa Rica has to offer, from its history to its natural biodiversity and everything. It's, like really nice, especially if you don't have time to go visit the entire country. The Museum of Jade, which is right next to the National Museum, which is, well, kind of boring in my opinion and doesn't offer a lot, if any, explanations to most of its exhibits. A lot of archaeological artifacts and some jade pieces. But, I mean, it's a modern museum, but not my favorite. And a lot of tourists go to San Jose Central Market, which is the pedestrian area. San Jose, you have a huge shopping street filled with American shops and a fast food restaurants chain. But in the Central Market, you will find souvenirs, food, produce, local restaurants, local foods, a lot of objects of all sorts, but it's quite touristy, I would say. And of course, the Barrio Chino, the Chinese neighborhood. What I really like about San Jose is that they have a Chinese neighborhood, which apparently a lot of Latin countries do have, cities in the Latin countries. That's obviously another culture, but it's worth visiting the Chinese neighborhood because it's right in the center of San Jose. It's like walking distance, and it's a very, very interesting and nice activity to do. Those are the main things to do in San Jose. I have to say also that I am a digital nomad, so especially after visiting similar spot, as I said earlier, I visited Guatemala right before I got to Costa Rica, so it didn't bother me that much that I didn't plan to visit all the famous nature spots in Costa Rica. Basically, once you land in Costa Rica, you see huge marketing banners from the Ministry of Tourism that claim Costa Rica has 8% of the biodiversity on Earth. Which sounds simply amazing, and they show you big pictures of very brightly colored frogs and lush tropical rainforests and all sorts of things, zip lines in the jungle or other similar stuff. The thing is that they do have a lot of biodiversity. It's just that they don't tell you the whole story, which is even the other countries in Central America have the same biodiversity. They just don't market it as hard, as pushy as Costa Rica, but they basically all have the same. You have tropical rainforests in all countries. You have basically kind of the same species of plants and animals in all these countries. But, and there's a huge but, Costa Rica just manages to market itself better. That's the secret. They don't want to tell you, and everything that you find online is going to be coming from wealthier tourists that have been to Costa Rica because it claims to be so biodiverse and safe and everything. And of course, they're very happy because if you haven't been to any similar country around Costa Rica, then you're going to be you know, breathtaking scenery at every face is gonna be mind-blowing, and you're gonna love it, and you're gonna tell your travel stories to all your friends. But that's the same case for all the other countries around. What they don't tell you is that Costa Rica is actually really, really expensive. So when comparing it to other countries around, which offer basically the same things, for me it felt a bit like being in the US. Although I'm not a US citizen, I have visited the US 3 times, and Costa Rica just feels a bit of a travel resort for US travelers. I remember talking to fellow travelers telling me, yes, you're gonna save on flights to Costa Rica, but you're gonna spend so much there staying in San Jose that you're gonna regret it. I did not regret it because I really explored like a new country and a culture, and I loved that. But it was pricey. As I said, it's basically a huge resort for Americans, and the truth is that beside the nature experiences, there's not much left to do in Costa Rica, as opposed to other countries in Central America, which offer also culture and history. It's just expensive to enter any natural spot. Old national parks had an entrance fee, and it was not cheap. It was more than $20 to $30 per person. That's not including any other activities that were available in the park. And to get there, you either need to rent a car or get on a guide. So basically, if you really want to explore and have activities every day nonstop, you could probably budget at least $100 per day, and that's on the very, very, very low side. Airport taxi in San Jose. As I said, probably the way you're gonna reach Costa Rica is via the international airport in San Jose. When I landed in San Jose, I figured I'm gonna just order an Uber, because after I did a quick Uber search, I figured that Uber is available in Costa Rica. So once I got there, it was quite busy. I wasn't really sure, like the Reddit thread that I read on ordering an Uber at the airport seemed a bit complicated, because it seemed like the airport wasn't allowing Ubers to come, whatever. So I said, it was like midnight almost, so I decided that we're gonna just take a official taxi of the airport, because hey, we're in Costa Rica, like how much could a taxi cost, right? So a lady from the official taxi company, they're called the Orange Taxis in San Jose Airport, and those are the only taxis that are allowed at the airport officially. She said that she's offering the same price like any other taxi. However, she did not mention the rates, and it seems that they do have a monopoly there over the airport, so yeah, they're expensive. But my fault was that I did not ask for the rate at the airport. We went with her to a taxi. We got in. It was like one huge van. It would have fit at least 6 people, but we were 2. And I said, is this for us? And she said, yeah, no worries. It's the same price, it's the same price. But nowhere did she mention the price. There was a meter on that taxi, and the numbers were spinning like crazy. They have colon, the currency in Costa Rica, so it took me a while to realize how much was that in US dollars or in euros. Turns out it was quite a lot. I think this also works in their advantage, because when you first get to a new country, you don't know the conversion rate, you can easily get fooled. Well, I just ignored the red flags and got in the car with that crazy lady, because she was smiling kind of weird, in a weird way. Yeah, well, but in the end she did not take any detours or anything. Bottom line is that the 25-minute taxi ride from the airport to our building was $33, which is crazy expensive, because on the way back to the airport after our stay in San Jose in Costa Rica, I took an Uber which dropped us right in front of the entrance for departures at the airport, and that was like half the price, like 16 euros with a tip or around that. You can definitely get Uber in Costa Rica and San Jose. They are not allowed at the airport, but if you do go in the parking lot for departures, you will be able to get your Uber. So that's something to know, because otherwise the official taxis are really crazy expensive. However, if you're like in a group and you're gonna split it up, then maybe it's not worth the hassle. I don't know, it's up to you. But just so you know, this was the situation in March 2024. And by the way, the Uber driver was much more friendlier than the lady from the orange taxi. Restaurants and grocery shopping in San Jose. You will be a bit surprised to find that most big American fast food chains and franchises are represented in San Jose, so you will feel just like in the US. I'm talking about McDonald's, Starbucks, KFC, and others. Also, there are some local fast food chains, and mostly they focus and offer deep fried chicken. I do not eat chicken or meat for that matter, so I don't know if they're good or not. Supermarkets are generally well stocked and have everything you need. However, do know that there are the local supermarkets where locals shop, and then there are the fancy ones. The local ones are like the one that we used to go is called Super, from supermarket, I guess. But yeah, you can find everything there, from produce to like fruits to anything. And you can pay with an international bank card, so you don't need cash. Other supermarkets cater specifically to expats, like Automercado, and most of the items that you're going to find there are at a premium price, because they're mostly imported from the US and they're not cheap. Also, they're located in the east side of San Jose, which is where all the expats are, and the expat area everything is. Unless you want something specifically from the US, I would recommend staying away from the US supermarkets or restaurants, because it's gonna just dry out your budget immediately. So just go to the local stuff where the locals shop, and it's gonna be good. And that's it. That's everything I wanted to mention about Costa Rica. I truly wanted to experience more of nature in Costa Rica, but as I mentioned, the prices were ridiculously high, and after visiting other places in Central America, it was just not worth it for me. But if you specifically want to see a place in Costa Rica, then you should plan for it in advance, and maybe you can get your costs down. It is a destination, a tourist destination that caters specifically to the American tourists, which have a higher budget for such tropical destinations. Everything costs money. Everywhere you go, you need to hire a guide, hire a tour agency. Driving around is not that easy, because the roads are not in great shape, so then it will take a long time to get from one point to another, which means you will need to find accommodation in between attractions, and those are not cheap either. Everything needs to be paid, from parking lots to hotels to meals to entrances. Even to see a nature spot needs to be paid. To enter national parks, there are really high fees, ranging from $20 to $30-something per person. All zip lines have outrageous prices, in my personal opinion. So budget at least $100 to $150 per day if you're going there for attractions and activities. If you're going just to spend a few days or a month as a digital nomad, chill in just one place, if you're not gonna stay in San Jose, then you need to book your transportation in advance from the airport or from San Jose to wherever place you're staying. There are a few villages, towns that are preferred by digital nomads, but to get there is going to cost you, again, more than $150 for a private transfer, and cheaper with a bus, but there are not many buses and you will need to find a connection probably at some point, and it will take forever. I truly hope this video was insightful for you, helping you plan your trip to Costa Rica and Central America in general, and I will see you in my next video, which will be a comparison between Guatemala and Costa Rica, because this is what I was looking for when I was trying to make an itinerary for my trip in Central America, and there wasn't much information that I could rely on. So now I'm gonna make this so you can plan your future trip in Central America. See you in my next video.